Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Talk with Sorin Tangkhul. Today is a very special day. It is International Human Rights Day. But not so good for the tribals of Manipur because Article 371C has been enshrined in the Constitution of India, but it has not been implemented to its fullest in Manipur. Today we'll be discussing exclusively on this particular article, which is Article 371C. And this video is specially sponsored by Pasdo Ukrul, an NGO based in Ukrul. Every year on this day, they organize discussions related to human rights, and this is today's special video. And to discuss this article in depth and to be able to learn more about this article, we have a very special guest, which many of my viewers know, who need not have a better introduction. But for those who are new to this channel, I'd like to give a special introduction to my special guest of this episode. Let us all welcome Mr. Swart Vashum, the president of Tangkhul Naga. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me again, once again, on this talk show, and we appreciate, and it's a pleasure to host you once again.
Thank you so much, Sorin. Yeah.
Thank you. So, like I've said in the beginning, Article 371C is supposed to be a very special constitutional rights which has been enshrined to the tribals of Manipur. But unfortunately, it has not been implemented to its fullest in the hill districts of Manipur, which has led to so many disadvantages to the tribals. So to many of our viewers who are not so much aware of this particular article, first of all, we'd like you to brief us a bit about what this article is about, and let us go forward with the discussion.
Sorin, I call this Article 371C, a democratic constitutional instrument, political instrument that has been so well provided for in the Constitution. Well, I would call it infamous, Article 371C, for the simple reason we have allowed this particular Article 371C, which otherwise could have worked, I would say, not wonders, but could have done substantial,
Right.
in our case, for the tribals in Manipur, if only the article was put to good use.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate, I must say, it has fallen into disuse. Right. And I wouldn't blame, the constitutional makers. I wouldn't blame those of them, staying in Delhi, the powers that be, who have, at one time, way back in the 70s, early 70s, thought fit that this should be inserted in the Constitution, added to the Constitution through a constitutional amendment. They call it 27th Constitutional Amendment, way back in 1971. Right? That is how. And why this has not been put to good use, I would say, those of our leaders who are on the frontline leadership, I would hold them entirely responsible for what has come about.
Right.
Vis-a-vis Article 371C, right? They are the stakeholder number one. It is for them to make sure that, this is put to good use as envisioned, as envisaged in the Constitution.
Right.
To empower the tribals in Manipur so that we are also able to come up to the same level where the rest of them are there.
Right.
But, yes, in a way, you're right. Even those of them who are holding the reign of powers in Manipur, they are also responsible because the onus is equally on them
Okay.
to ensure that the act, the provisions of the act, right, are fully implemented.
Yeah.
It may be that the tribal MLAs or the MPs
Okay.
are not so much interested,
Okay.
or they may not even know the nitty gritty of this article. But government of Manipur cannot say that they know nothing about this. They know for sure. At best, they can feign ignorance. At best, they can feign ignorance. But that doesn't excuse them, from taking the responsibility for the utter failure to put this, constitutional provisions to good use, so that the interest and the rights of the tribals
Right.
are well taken care of.
Yeah. Okay.
The entire purpose of Article 371C, this is, you see, way back in the 70s, to be precise, 1971, right? And, what was envisaged was that there would be, a constitutionally empowered entity, constitutionally empowered body, right? Who would play, or who would, play the role to discharge a pivotal functions for the implementation of this particular article. And that is the HAC,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah. So
And
I will come to that in the later part, but in this particular topic, the command which I have given in the beginning, it indicates that the rights of the tribals have been curbed. It looks like so, and because it is a constitutional right, but it has not been implemented. So, in what way are the tribals lacking? Just because because of this article not being implemented well, how have we been in the disadvantaged side? How have we been, in case if this has been implemented, I thought that, like you have mentioned, we would have been at the same level. So, what are the disadvantages of this article not being implemented well?
This particular act, Article 371C, applies only to the state of Manipur.
Right.
And is, functional under the fifth schedule to the Constitution on the authority of Article 244, right? That is how this, article came about, okay? Giving, clearly demarcated, powers and functions to the Hill Area Committee. We often call them HAC. It's a constitutionally empowered entity, right? It's a kind of a mini legislature,
Right.
miniature legislature within the state of, within the larger legislature of the state. It is for them. It is for them to ensure that, what has been provided for the protection, for the safeguard of our interests, of our rights, are implemented.
Okay.
All right? For, political and economic, social development.
Right.
That is essentially designed to empower the tribals at the grassroots level, right? All those, provisions which are there in the Article 371C, it's for them to ensure that they're implemented.
Right.
But if the HAC, which otherwise is a constitutional body, right, is not willing to act on the powers given to them.
Right. So, how have we been affected since this is not being properly implemented?
For instance,
Yeah.
There is a specific provision for economic development.
Right.
Earlier, before the advent of this, current dispensation, the BJP government at the center, BJP-led government at the center, 10 years ago, there used to be a 5-year plan, which of course has been dispensed with. Right? The planning commission that used to be there, it's no longer there. Now, earlier though, it was 5-year plan. But now, they have not completely dispensed with that. The concept still, still survives in the sense, whatever plan they have, it's all, worked out on the basis of a timeline of 5 years. All right? And, within this 5 years, now, annual plan is there.
Right.
Right. Now, for the hills, it is clearly envisaged in the, this article. If you go through, the government of India gets a notification, 20th June, 1972. You would clearly see that, the annual plan, or that time, 5-year plan, broken up into annual plan for 5 years, will clearly provide what are the projects, what are programs
Okay.
that would be executed in the hill areas, that would be implemented in the hill areas. And correspondingly, they would also provide for financial allocation. Right. Which means the implication is this, that there is a budget, annual budget, which the assembly, considers in the month of, March every year, before the commencement of the new year, starting from the 1st of April every year. Now, here they must clearly provide for two components within the same budget. One, for the general, right? That is the valley,
Yeah.
which is only 10%, in size, all right? And another for the hill areas, right? These two components would, make up the sum total, the budget, they call it, right? Which we all know. Now, it is for the members of the HAC to ensure that, they have not only provided for schemes, program, projects, they must also ensure that in the budget, corresponding financial allocation have been made. Otherwise, what is the use of going ahead with the program without corresponding financial allocation? That is, what has been done all along. We have gone past more than 50 years now since the statehood, since this act came into being.
Right.
But not even a single, not even one
Okay.
has been implemented.
Okay.
Financial allocation. You see, the core emphasis of this act is to accelerate, the economic development such that people in the hills are able to come up on par with the valleys. But this is not possible, right?
Okay.
It is a single budget,
Yeah.
right? And if you go and ask them how much have been clearly allocated for the hills, they wouldn't be able to say. They wouldn't be able to say because it has not been made.
Right. Had it been implemented to its fullest, would have been developed in a much better way. And listening to the comment you have made, it looks like the Hill Areas Committee have failed in many of their functions. So, in your opinion, what could they have done? What could they have done in order for these rights to be implemented properly?
Thou Soren, I'm under no illusion that this is the panacea to all our ills. I don't say that. But had it been implemented or executed as willed, intended by the Constitution, we would not have been in this sorry state of affairs. Right? Now, for instance, They have made sure that, at least, bars that those days, Indira Gandhi was the prime minister in Delhi. And they foresaw that Manipur, though small, is a very difficult, state for the simple reasons. It comprises of different ethnic groups,
Right.
right? And the dominant group is valley-based, the Meiteis, right? And so, in recognition of the distinctiveness, separateness of the tribals, certain, separate provisions should be made. That is how this, Article 371C came about. All right. And they have provided for all the, mechanism that would, allow this, act to work successfully. Now, for instance, I give you an example. Every year, the governor is, the constitutional head of the state, right? And the governor is vested with the power to send an annual report to the center, to the union government, on the going-ons of the state, the state of affairs of the state government, particularly with reference to the hill areas, right? Just ask them, has the governor ever sent even one report? In fact, the constitutional requirement is this: not less than one. Minimum one annual report must come to the union government, highlighting therein the, going-ons in the state, in the hills of Manipur, the actual state of affairs that prevails in the hills. That, he has to submit to the union government, right? And, based on that, the power that has been given, to the union government, not given to any other, in respect of any other state, but in respect of Manipur, the power of the union government extend to such that they can give direction to the state government on any particular area that, you have come short of this, you have fallen short on this, you have to do this, there are deficiencies, there are weaknesses, shortfalls, all that kind of things, they can give direction to the state government. Executive direction, I'm saying, right? Governor not having given even one report in one single year, and all these 50 plus years, what do you think? Who would care? Right?
So it looks like total failure from many aspects.
But what I'm saying is this now. Governor, I know, right?
Okay.
Earlier, though, the governor used to be distinguished, figures, right, who have made names in their own respective, disciplines.
Right.
But nowadays, governors are ordinary politicians. So I don't expect much from this, thing crop.
Okay.
Right. But I tell you, governor, has to ask the state government, you have to submit this report.
Right.
Right. I cannot just manufacture, based on my wild imagination. I have to be fed with facts and figures. Right. Give me those. I'll write to the union government.
Right.
If the state government doesn't do it, what prevents the HAC from ensuring that the governor sends that annual report,
Right.
giving all the details of what is going on in the hills? Had that been done, at least, I'm sure we would not have remained in this.
Going by this, I feel that the HAC members, the HAC itself, the state government, and even including the governor, they have failed to implement this particular article. which means the rights of the tribals has been taken away. And there has been blame game going around, which, for example, the HAC members blaming the government, saying that they have not been empowered well. And like you have just mentioned, the governor is not doing his or her duty as he or she is supposed to do. So do you think they are in certain way working hand in gloves, they're in collusion in order not to let this particular, those who drafted this constitution, who added this Article 371C, added into the amended the constitution with a good vision to empower and to uplift the rights of the tribals. But since, like you have mentioned, after 50 years, more than 50 years of its insertion in the article, in the constitution, it has not been implemented. So do you think they are all working in collusion? What has really gone wrong? What could they really do? What could they have done?
Now, Soren, that is a multi-million dollar question. I can't, decipher the reason. What exactly would be the reason for this, absolute dead silence on this particular issue? No, I won't be able to volunteer any reason, right? For and on behalf of the agency, on behalf of the state government, on behalf of the governor. They know best, right? To me, it's just that they either do not know
Okay.
or they don't care to know,
All right.
right? But I'm sure, as living human beings, they know that there is such a thing called Article 371C, which applies solely to the state, and the sole intent, the will of the Constitution, is to ensure the backward tribals in the hills come up to where the valley peoples are, at least.
Yeah.
I don't say that this article is, a foolproof assurance or guarantee that, having been implemented, we would have, come up. No, no way. But certainly not where we are today.
Yeah.
And when you say blame game, it's not even a blame game.
Okay.
Blame game would mean somebody has done something.
Right.
And, somebody in the chain doesn't care to do, right? If that be the case, you may call it blame game. It's not even. For
Worse
instance,
than that.
for instance, the main, as I call, the number one stakeholder, HAC, they haven't raised even a single issue on this.
Right.
Under this, Article 371C, which empowers them,
Right.
right, to do things that concerns the tribal areas.
Who do you think has a more important role to play, the HAC members or the state government, in order for this article to be implemented?
Well, they're equally responsible.
Okay.
The Constitution doesn't say that it is for the HAC to ensure implementation. It's given to the state government.
All right.
And the state government, being the number one in the, execution of any act, cannot say that, well, it doesn't apply to us, it applies to them, so we don't care. Can they excuse themselves? No, no way. But even then, you have, I have even mentioned the role of the governor.
Right.
Right? The less say, the better it is. Right? Had I been the governor, I would have asked for, all the materials. Because I cannot manufacture the materials. It has to come from the state government. It has to come from the HAC. It has to go for report. And how will they give the report when nothing has been done? So, is it because of that the governor didn't ask? I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Because even if he asked, he knew for sure that he wouldn't be able to get even a single material. What the while? What the mention? I'm sorry.
Okay. One of the main issues faced by the citizens of this state is that there is a conflict between the valley dwellers and the tribals. The case is that the tribals will blame the valley dwellers. And for instance, like you have mentioned earlier, this article was given to the tribals so that we can come up a little bit, at the level of those in the valley. But do you think those in the valley don't want this act, don't want this article to be implemented so that we'll be developed? And also the tribal leaders, do you think they have minimum voice in the government because the majority is from the valley? I mean, the inhabitants of the valley. Do you think it has to do with the valley dwellers and the tribals? Do you think that's an issue?
Now, sorry, let me be brutally frank. I must say, I can't help being absolutely sure that the valley people are not interested in the progress of the people in the hills, for whatever reason best known to them. If I were their leader, I wouldn't have allowed this. I can say that.
Okay.
I say, had I been the MLA, an MLA, or one of the ministers, I would have put my foot down and say that, no, we are supposed to do so much,
Right.
and yet we haven't done even one bit. How can this be? We are going to coexist. We are not only surviving for today. We are here in the present, but we live here in the present so that we prepare the way for the future. But is this the way to prepare for the future? We keep saying coexistence, coexistence. Kingdom Matani. Where is Kingdom Matani if you are simply interested in suppressing, oppressing, subjugating people in the hills? Would you take it for yourself, for your people, if you were on the other side of the table? You have to give this a very honest answer.
Right.
It's not, kind of, indulgence in semanticism. No, it's not argument. Huh? It's an expression of facts, the truth.
Right. Right. Do you think the leaders of the Meiteis community are somehow insecure that by implementing this act, the tribals may be more developed? Are they
Yes.
insecure?
It's a given truth. Not that we have chosen it. Huh? It's a given truth. It's neither the choice nor of ours. Right? We are occupying 90% of the land.
Right.
And they are there on the 10% of the land. Right. But then the population-wise, they are larger. We are smaller. Right. Now, even in terms of population, how much are they larger?
Yeah.
Right.
Not so much.
It's not much.
Yeah.
It's less than 10%.
Right.
And for this, the resources getting swallowed in the valley is to the extent of, 80 to 90%. I must say 70 to 80%. Right? And all developmental activities, whatever comes from the center, are all concentrated, in the valley.
Right.
Now the valley is getting saturated. They don't even have the space. Right. And so they start.
Is that their own making, in your opinion? That everything is concentrated in the valley, that
No.
everyone has to settle in the Infal Valley?
That's for sure. That's for sure. Right. Not, content with that. Even institutions which are purely dedicated to tribal,
Right.
like Manipur Hill University, Tribal University. Where is it located? Is that a place which they have chosen that holds the future? I don't think. Had it been for them, they would have chosen some other place, far, far better than what they have chosen. But, for reason best known to them, they think everything should be within their reach. Nothing should, be, taken away from their control. I think that is a, simply suicidal mindset. Because whether you like it or not, you're thinking, talking in terms of coexistence. And that coexistence cannot be just for a year or two.
Okay. So they're just being hypocritical.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is what the tribals would say, and but the those in the valley, and of course some of the tribals, we will also they will also have this opinion saying that what about the tribal leaders? Why couldn't they raise this issue in the assembly? Why couldn't they say anything about HAC not being implemented in the assembly?
I hold,
Yeah.
I must say, the entire intelligentsia, so-called intelligentsia in the hills, solely responsible for this sorry state of affairs. Right. It betrays utter lack of intellectual integrity, utter lack of intellectual honesty. You're thinking only in terms of what is convenient to you. You're only thinking, a very myopic kind of a thinking that limits your vision to only getting things that fills your stomach, that goes into your pocket. You can't even think for your, children. Forget about grandchildren. That is the reason why we have not been able to call a spade a spade. Right? Otherwise, we would have called, stood up, come up front, and call a spade a spade. How can it be? This is not what we have asked for. This is not what we have demanded. This is what has been given to us, even without being asked for. Because, more than 50 years ago, they foresaw this is the only way to safeguard the future. See, people in Delhi who have never lived with us, who have never experienced our daily living, yet they foresaw that down the line, 50, 100 years down the line, unless this is given, future would be at peril. And yet today, even after 50 years, we only talk about it. And we feign ignorance, or I don't know. It is at best, I would call it, kind of a pretentiousness, hypocrisy of the highest order
Okay.
on the part of the intelligentsia of the tribals.
Okay. Yeah. The HAC has been empowered with so many powers and functions, but like we have been discussing, they have not, up to their fullest functioning. The HAC chairman, I suppose, has all the powers and functions to do much more than what he is doing at the moment. What could he have been, done better?
Let me tell you, as I've said, HAC is not a creation of the state.
Right.
It is not a creation of the state government. Right? The HAC is there in the Constitution. Right? And the power they exercise, and they would exercise, derives from the Constitution, are derived from the Constitution.
Right.
Right. So, how is it that think that they have failed even one bit of what is expected of them? Right. I've said they are miniature legislature within the larger state legislature. Right. Anything concerning the hill areas, the tribals, should go to the HAC. It is within the domains of the HAC. Yeah? They have to exercise the power of oversight on any issue, every issue that concerns the hills. And without the stamp of their approval, without the stamp of their knowledge, nothing can go through. But then, the funniest thing is, even the HAC chairman is, selected by the chief minister. How do they allow this? Right? How do they allow this? No, this is a constitutional body. We will, elect our leader, who would be the chairman. Right? Because the Act so provides that there could be differences, conflicts of opinion,
Yeah.
differences, right? And in the event of such differences, the matter stands referred to the governor, right? Differences between the state government and the HAC, or between the legislature and the HAC. The matter stands referred to the governor,
Right.
and the governor would look into it, and of course, his decision would be binding, final,
Okay.
for both. That is there. But the fact remains that, they are even, treated as equals in a way, such that should there be any such difference and cannot be resolved, then it should go to the governor.
Right.
Right. See, this is the kind of power that has been given. Huh? There has been so much of, lacunae.
So it looks like the HAC or the chairman or the members are just there for namesake. And the ADC, Autonomous District Council, the election has not been conducted since the previous tenure, which ended in 2020. And what do you think is the reason behind of this election not being conducted? Because the reason which the state government stated is quietly irrelevant, because the Manipur State Legislative Assembly election was conducted in 2022. The Lok Sabha election has been conducted, because regardless of any reasons. Why is the ADC election not being conducted? And also to combine the question together, the HSC in its press release stated about the selection of former ADCs and educationists or so and so forth, which will function temporarily before the election. What do you think about, what is your opinion about this as well?
You see, ADC is only a reflection of the HAC. Of course, when this ADC came into being, it was before the commencement of the statehood in 1972, right? The ADC Act was passed by the parliament way back in 1970, when Manipur then was a union territory. But probably in anticipation of the scheme of things to come, they had anticipated that such a thing would eventually come about. And as and when, this statehood, full-fledged statehood, comes about, this ADC, which is already baked and ready then, could be, conveniently crafted into this, Article 71C, and be made, part of the Article 371C under the control of the HAC. That is what I'm saying. ADC is a reflection of the HAC, right? Now, there was time when the ADC election was not held for long, 20 or more years.
Right.
90, then 95. No, 90. 90 to 2000.
I think it was resumed in 2010.
Then.
After, more than a 2 decade, I think.
Right. Then again, now, this ADC term, the erstwhile ADC term, ended in June 2020.
Right.
The HAC should have put their foot down and said that, no, do something. There should be no break.
Right.
There should be no gap. They didn't utter even a word. It's for the convenience of the state government. If they do it, fine. If they don't do it, so be it. That is the attitude. And then they had the audacity to bring such a thing called caretaker chairmanship. Of course, sure enough, it was struck down by the High Court as ultra vires of the Constitution, unconstitutional, right? But the question is, how do we rival state it? Do we wait for the High Court or the Supreme Court to strike it down? We don't even have that, saying APC knowledge of, what the HAC, HAC is supposed to do. This is it. So it was struck down. Now, recently,
Yeah.
on the 14th of November, if I remember correct, the AJC, under the chairmanship of Gangmei, they have, of course, I know, the instruction came from the state government
Okay.
that, you do some kind of loud thinking and please come up with, a viable, workable solution. Because this can't remain, vacant. This ADC cannot remain, in a vacuum for so long. They have to have some reason.
Right.
So on that pretext, these people had to work. And they came up with a wonderful idea. We would reconstitute with 20 members.
Right.
All nominees. 13 of them from the previous ADC members. 23 or 24 of them. All right? 13. Who would handpick them? Huh?
Right.
And then 5 would be, they call it intellectuals, social activists, experts, whatnot. Right. And then 2 nominees from the government. What are they, thinking of the tribals? We are literally treated as living dead. Living dead.
Some people opines that something is better than nothing. That is the kind of reason they're giving. But do you think this is constitutional? And is this a mockery?
Absolutely undemocratic, unconstitutional. I would say this is a direct slur, insult.
Okay. So the tribal should not accept this?
Never.
Okay.
I have written to Chief Minister. I think 2-3 days after that, came out, immediately I wrote to the Chief Minister. This is absolutely undemocratic, unconstitutional. How dare?
So do you think
Please withdraw and cancel this.
Do you think the tribal leaders, the tribal MLAs are in collusion with the state government?
That is why.
Okay.
Now, I've told the UNC also, right, that you have to do something. Because it encompasses all the, Naga inhabited areas. You have 10 MLAs of the Nagas. You have to control them. As far as I'm concerned, Tangkhul, 2 MLAs and 1 ministers. I've called them for explanation. I've called for explanation from them. Right? Are you a party to this? If you're a party to this, dissociate yourself from this.
Okay.
And make public that you are not supporting this.
All right.
For whatever reason, they have kept quiet. I salute them for that audacity. Gangmei, I have to call a spade a spade. He is their number 1. And for what? He occupies the chair
Right.
dedicated to safeguarding, protecting the interest and the rights of the tribals. And he is there. To indulge in this kind of a transactional kind of a business. How can we accept such things? But I'm surprised. The reaction is so lukewarm.
Okay.
I thought, it will be an euphoric kind of a very, very strong reaction. Sure enough, they have not answered. But I know one thing, that they have realized that it's awfully wrong,
Okay.
awfully unconstitutional.
Okay.
Even a child would laugh at it. That they have come to know. And so,
Okay. So here's a question, and also, of course, it is in the minds of every tribals. The tribals feel that when we say the name state government, it is mostly dictated by the majority community, which is the Meiteis community. So when it comes to states' inefficiency, state governments, unwillingness to implement this particular article, do you think it is the directive, the mindset of a particular community who don't want to develop the tribals, the
They would
hills?
not like me, as I've said, calling a spade a spade. But this is a people's issue.
Right.
This is not my personal, whims, my personal agenda, right? It is a people's agenda, right? In the constitutional scheme of things, okay, in a given political boundaries, we coexist, right? There are Gukis, there are Nagas, there are Meiteis. Now, the three groups, of course, for the other two tribal groups, again has so many, tribes and sub-ethnic groups. But for them, Meitei, right? They're the dominant. They're the richest, the strongest, and even in terms of intellectual strength, they command much more. I respect them for that, right? But they should not forget this. How have they reached that level? Is it at the expense, at the cost of their fellow tribals? Who coexist with them? We are not wild animals thrown into the jungles. And, say that we have to coexist. It's, for the survival of the fittest. That is the philosophy that rules here. And the survival of the fittest would pronounce the final death knell for the lesser mortals. That is not what a constitution intends. We coexist as equals.
Yes.
But there would be unequals.
Yeah.
You have to bring them up. And that is as much in the interest of the Meiteis.
Right.
But I would say they have not come to this sense.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right? May not be all of them, but a considerable, section of them.
Okay.
And that too at the intellectuals level, right? The leadership level. They have given themselves to this.
Okay.
And if they don't, turn back, if they don't reverse the care,
Okay.
it's only pronouncing the death knell to the future of Manipur,
Okay.
of their own making.
Okay. So, in our conversation, it has been mentioned that, and of course, the dominant community, they use the word coexistence, Chingtam Amatani, in many a times. But like you have mentioned earlier, they have been in many ways developing at the expense by suppressing the rights of the tribals. Do you think the valley develops at the expense of the hill areas? Because all of the funds have been pumping in the valley. Is this the case?
That is precisely the point. That is precisely the point. And if, the arrangement is so heavily skewed against the tribals, do you think the tribals will just keep mum and say that, well, what can we do? This is what has been given to us. Maybe my generation would like to say that. Maybe for reason best known to me, because I'm so petty in my thinking.
But the tribal MLAs are not doing so much, not voicing out. What would you say about this as well?
Oh, it is a foregone conclusion. Had he stood up and, stood the ground, saying that, no, we don't ask for anything extra. But we ask for what has been apportioned to us by the Constitution. Nothing more, nothing less. Even if you want to give us anything extra, we will not accept.
Okay.
That is your share. You make do with that. But what the Constitution has apportioned for us, to us, you can't mess around with that forever. Enough is enough. That is what we have to say. Right? And if they don't want to say that, people ought to take a note of this and give them a marching order. That is what should happen in democracy.
Okay.
They can't be there, just to, pamper a few select groups who are, enjoying the benefits at the expense of the people at the grassroots and the younger generation,
Yeah.
particularly.
Okay. So when you mentioned about the death knell to the existence of Manipur, so we have discussed that the Imphal Valley is getting congested. Land has become an issue in Manipur, and I'm sure the current ongoing conflict between the Kuki community and the Meitei community is an issue of land as well. So do you think if Article 371C had been implemented well, these issues could have been avoided? Or do you think they still have time, the state government, or when we say state government, a certain dominant community, do they think they have a bigger role to play in order for this article to be implemented well and avoid such destruction of this coexistence?
I would say, in the given situation, if at all we have to look far ahead of what the future will hold in store for us, I think it is high time for the Meiteis to sit up and think, and not only think, act on what needs to be done. Not merely going on, lofty kind of sermonizing, saying that we don't even have common history. Their history is different. Huh? They have a far, longer and stronger historical background, right? Our history came into existence only with the advent of the Britishers, touching, with the virgin lands of the Nagas. It's only then we came into contact with the outside world and we stayed exposed to the outside influence, right? Contact. And that is how, our history started, its journey. Otherwise, we have had no history. Right. That we, tribals, we Nagas, have had, a history of having lived together, right? We don't even have the same language across, the board, right? It differs even, between neighbors. So, there is absolutely no comparisons between the Meiteis and the tribal.
Okay.
I wouldn't talk about, the cookies and others.
Okay.
That's for them to talk about.
All right.
But as far as history is concerned, ours is, of 100, 200 years old, right? So no comparison. They are talking in terms of, 2,000-3,000, right? And if they're that old, has the civilization taught them only to stoop down to this level, that they would look, their, compatriots living around them as neighbors, to be, so contemptuous. I don't know if I'm using, strong words, but, for want of, better words, I can't help using even, strong words. But that exactly explains, as I've said, if I were one of them, I wouldn't have allowed in my conscience, right? Of course, if, I dehumanize myself, I would have, maybe I would have even said, that is what everybody does.
Okay. President, just the last question of our interview, of our conversation. Recently, a Congress leader, senior leader, P. Chidambaram, he opines about regional autonomy to the different communities, living in Manipur. For example, a regional autonomy for the Kuki community, for the Naga community. He opined that. But the people of Manipur, I mean, certain people, including, for example, a political party, which is the Indian National Congress, where the signatories were also, a few of the tribals were also there, Nagas, and they opposed to that. And my question here is regional autonomy a solution to the existing issues of Manipur? Because the Nagas, the Kukis, let's say the tribals of Manipur feels that we have been given a stepmotherly treatment. We have not, like this Article 371C, which we have been discussing. So do you think Article 371C is a part of the regional autonomy which Chidambaram mentioned, and is this the solution to end the conflict in Manipur?
I've had the benefit of interacting with Mr. B. Chidambaram. I tell you, an outstanding, intellectual giant among the politicians at the national level. He's a man who is even recognized internationally.
Right.
Right. When he has said that, I think, and having been the Home Minister, having dealt with the issue of Manipur for quite a long time, I'm sure he must have had solid reason
Right.
for saying what he had said. Right. And for convenience, political consumptions, if you're saying what you're saying against that, well, I would say that you're entitled to your opinion. But I must admit to the fact that he has made a very objective, pronouncement based on his experience
Right.
as the Home Minister of India. And at that, having dealt with all the nitty-gritties of Manipur, from a very close quarter. Now, having said that, what is the future of Manipur? Right? The present ATC under Article 371C is entirely dependent on the state. Yeah. This is, the reason why I, vehemently oppose this. Whereas tribals of the Northeast, elsewhere, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, are granted autonomous district council under the 6th schedule
Okay.
to the constitution. Right? The financial devolution comes from the sender. And for the subject, transfer to the autonomous district council, there is, there is an equitable sharing of, financial, burden. It comes from the state. Right? And here, our autonomous district council, they call it autonomous. Where is the autonomy?
Right.
A deputy commissioner is, placed above them. That he can go to the governor and say that, no, I want to dismiss this district council. Just get a green signal. Okay, your reason is fine. Dismiss. That's how it works. Whereas, they can't do that with the, autonomous district council, in Meghalaya, Assam, Tripura, Mizoram. Right? Why is it that, they have been placed under the 6th schedule and we have been placed under the 5th schedule? When I try to decipher the reason, it's simply mind-boggling. I can't get anywhere. Right? 6th schedule came about because of the magnanimous leadership of Bortoloy, the first chief ministers after the independence of Assam. He said, no, it's difficult to govern the tribal areas like this, under the same administrative roof, right? We have to have a special different arrangement, administrative arrangement for them. We have to give them sufficient autonomy,
Okay.
right? That is how this sexual, thing came about. And it was given to them. Now the Constitution says equality before the law, equal protection of law, that has to be secured for all the citizens, right? Now, just confining ourselves to the Northeast, we're all tribals, sexual tribals, right? If you look at the constitutions, we're on the same footing, right? But when it comes to governance, we are placed far below that.
Right.
Why can't our political leadership take up this issue and even, threaten that, okay, if you're not willing to do this on your own, we will go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, fundamental right, Article 14 guarantees equality before the law, equal protection of law. Where is the equality before the law?
Right.
He is similarly placed and treated by the Constitution as tribals on the same footing. Absolutely no difference.
Okay.
But when it comes to the real substance of it, their system of governance is far,
Okay.
ahead of us.
Right.
How can this be? This is it, For them, it happens because of the chief minister himself in Assam. Here it happens, right? The reverse.
Okay.
Because of the leadership down there in Imphal. They will, I think, find it very, very difficult to hear my words. But I'm willing to sit with them. If they call me. It's not because of personal animosity,
Yeah.
but it is an issue for my people.
Right.
Right. That is the thing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. President. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have this conversation with you again. It's been very enlightening. And of course, for our viewers, it must have been a very enriching time for them as well. Lots have been learned from you. And as a leader of the people, we really appreciate you speaking out for us, on our behalf. And I hope and I believe that under your leadership, we will be able to achieve things which have not achieved earlier. And we hope and pray that the vision you have will be achieved in under your able leadership. Wish you the best in your endeavors, and hopefully we can have this kind of fruitful interview, fruitful conversation in the days to come as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to all the viewers, thank you so much for joining us. I believe that it has been a beneficial conversation, and that we have been enlightened by the conversation, especially by the knowledge which have been shared by our president. And also, it is a request to all the people, especially to the tribals, to raise our voice where needed. We have been rightfully given by the Constitution of India to be empowered in the name of Article 371C. And the HAC has been empowered to implement this particular act, but which we have not seen it so far. It seems that the HAC, the Article 371C, has been there just for namesake. So we tribals have a lot to do, and we expect our leaders, our tribal leaders, to work for our people, to raise voices for our rights. We have been suppressed for so long. Our rights have been taken away for so long. We appeal, we request the state government to treat everyone, every citizen of the state equally, not to be biased about being in the valley or in the hills. Let us try to avoid all this. We are all citizens of this state. We expect, and also it is our right to receive what has been given by the Constitution of India. We are not asking for it, and we don't even require to ask for it. It is our right. Give us what is rightfully ours, and our leaders should be fighting for that. And this is a request to all the tribals, especially the tribals. Let us support the leader who works for us, who raised the voice for us, not to fill his or her stomach, but for the people. Thank you so much for joining us this episode. We hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you all so much.